Hey everyone, this is Adam Elenbaas from Nightlight Astrology. Today we're going to take a look at Mercury moving into the sign of Aries, where it will immediately conjoin Neptune at 0 Aries. That is a very potent signature and a change of dignity that we're going to explore today. So I'm going to give you 5 things to watch for. We're also going to talk about the sequence of Neptunian contacts that are happening as Mars also prepares to oppose Pluto. I'll sort of just allude to that a little bit today and prep us for some further exploration that we'll be doing later in the week. Anyway, that is our goal for the day. Remember to like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow. Make this a place of your own daily meditation. Make this a part of your own spiritual daily practice with astrology. The subscription helps our channel to grow. We really do appreciate it. You can find transcripts of any of these daily talks on my website, which is nightlightastrology.com. Now, when you are over there, let's see here. I'm going to take you to our first year course. At the end of my content right now, every day, you can check out a special in-depth video covering all that our first year program includes. It's called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is a 1-year course in ancient Hellenistic astrology. There are 30 live webinars on the year. And in between the major units of study, we also have breakout study sessions led by some of our tutors. We also have an interactive group forum discussion that is staffed with tutors, a ton of bonus material. So it's a really in-depth program that was created for helping practitioners who want to go professional and read for other people. But also many people take our programs just for their own spiritual growth and personal spiritual practice. At the bottom, you'll find some registration options. The early bird payment and early bird payment plans are available until May 15th. So you can check those out to save some money on the cost of the course. You can also check out need-based tuition if you need a little help to make the program happen. We don't want anyone living outside of their means. So if you need that sliding scale to work within for your monthly tuition for the course, you can use that. It's open to anyone who honestly needs it. Now, again, like I said, at the end of today's program and at the end of every daily content going forward, you'll also find an informational video tagged on telling you more about what the course includes. And so you can stick around today for that. Now, the other thing I want to share just briefly is my wife's herbal apprenticeship program. She came on the channel recently to talk about herbs, and you will find that she comes on the channel once in a while to help us pair plant spirit allies with astrological transits. If you want to study more about plant spirit medicine, you can go over to skyhouseherbs.com. Check it out on Skyhouse Herbs, her YouTube channel. The apprenticeship program that she teaches is also a year long. There's also need-based tuition. You can check it out on the courses page of her website. And the new program starts April 24th, so it's coming up. You've got some time to join still if you're interested. Okay, on that note, now let's turn our attention over to the real-time clock. But first, I need to silence notifications here. Okay, there we go. Let's take a look at this transit and sort of remind ourselves of what is happening here. All right, let me, for some reason, there we go. All right. Neptune is leaving Pisces, the sign of its detriment and fall, and it is entering the sign of Aries. Now, today, Tuesday, April 15th, it is at the 29th degree of the sign of Pisces. The moon's kind of moving into a trine with it after an opposition with Uranus and interesting signatures with the moon today. But if we take this forward, and I'm going to just do so by hours right now, you'll see that Mercury reaches into 0 Aries at about 2 in the morning Central Time tomorrow, April 16th. As soon as it does so, it is in a conjunction with Neptune. Now, the exact conjunction will perfect, right? Let's see. We've got, what is it? About, maybe tomorrow night, April 16th, like about 11:30 to midnight. So easily this carries over anyway from April 16th into the 17th. And if I give it just a little bit further, like a 3-degree range of separation, we have Mercury separating from Neptune and then immediately making a sextile to Pluto between now and Saturday. What's interesting about that is that at the exact same time that Mercury is making that little journey from Neptune to Pluto, Mars, who is entering Leo on Thursday of this week, will also immediately trine Neptune. Let me draw it out so you can see it. Here's Mars in Leo, trining Neptune in Aries at 0 Aries. We're all like, hooray, Mars is out of Cancer. Yeah, but immediate opposition to Pluto, right? So out of the frying pan and into the fire. Now, that opposition between the two planets is going to slowly perfect. We don't see it exact until about the 25th and 26th of April. But as soon as Mars enters Leo, it is making the trine by this weekend to Neptune, which means that Mercury is hitting Neptune and then Pluto, and then Mars is hitting Neptune and Pluto. And the two planets are, of course, within 3 degrees of a sextile to one another. Neptune and Pluto are. So it makes for a really interesting series of dynamics. What to speak of the fact that the Sun will also enter Taurus and start squaring Mars and squaring Pluto. So we have a very powerful dynamic that we are now starting to think about the Mercury-Neptune conjunction within. And that's the point I wanted to make. Just to remind us, and we will keep looking at this as the week goes on, that this, what seems like a very simple, fast-moving conjunction from Mercury to Neptune, which we might typically just think about in terms of normal Mercury-Neptune stuff. Okay, I'm going to lose my pants. I'm going to get a little carried away. I'm going to start, I'm going to be like, I enter into the never-ending story when Mercury's with Neptune for a couple of days, and then I'm back. Fantasia's been saved. But no, this is, I think, a Mercury-Neptune dynamic that has to be read in terms of the immediate proximity to one of the biggest transits of the astrological year in Mars's opposition to Pluto. So with that in mind, I am going to give you 5 things to watch for today. But these 5 things to watch for are kind of flavored with the upcoming opposition. So I'm kind of peppering it. All right, let's see here. I had one more I needed to add. All right. So if you're new to my channel, by the way, 5 things to watch for is a way of taking any archetypal combination of planets that are perfecting through an aspect in the sky and really just turning the jewel of that combination so we can catch the light bouncing off the archetypal jewel in different ways. And that gives us different means by which to see and reflect upon our experiences as the symbolism in the sky reflects them. Now, I like to say this is, something that's a big part of the way that I understand astrology, you could say, on a philosophical level or an epistemological level. The planets aren't causing things to happen any more than the clock that we've created to reflect the time is causing time to pass. Noon on the clock doesn't cause noon to happen, in a sense. There's a correlation. Noon on the clock signifies what's happening. So when I look at Mercury-Neptune, first of all, I don't think of something causing something to happen. I think of the symbols in the sky as symbolic mirrors of what's occurring energetically. And of course, I believe in energies and all things, everything like that. But just like a tarot card isn't causing an energy to happen, but reflecting the symbolism. I think that's important because when we approach a very busy period like this, it is easy to start, especially with Mars-Pluto, to start thinking that something external is acting upon you to cause what you're feeling or what you're dealing with. And I think it's a much more, it's both more humble and paradoxically more empowering to understand that what's happening is, a part of living in a world where not everything is in our control. And also that what's happening is a part of our destiny. And there are intricate, beautiful, mysterious reasons for what's coming up that are also a part of, things we've chosen, things we've committed to learn or experience in this lifetime. So we can't blame the planets, right? Anyway, on that note, I say that also because these are very powerful forces. And I think it's especially tempting to start going, Mars is messing with me. Mars-Pluto is messing with me or something like that. And it's better to look within and really reflect on ourselves and our own consciousness as much as possible. All right, so 5 things to watch for given the Mercury conjoining Neptune at 0 Aries, which, by the way, does mean that, again, Mercury is leaving both its detriment and fall in Pisces. So the first thing I want to say is you may immediately feel the shift energetically as the symbol is changing fields. You may notice a correlation with a different quality with respect to mercurial things, technology, communication, the mind, speech. Um, you know, when Mercury changes into a fire sign from that kind of mystical, watery, double-bodied feminine sign of Pisces, you would think initially that a more executive, rational, sort of strong Mercury would start to express itself. But as soon as Mercury enters Aries, it's conjoining Neptune, who was just in Pisces and who many people in modern astrology associate with Pisces, right, through modern rulerships. So it's an interesting situation because it's kind of like Mercury's still in a very otherworldly space as soon as it enters Aries by virtue of its conjunction with Neptune. But the first thing that comes to mind for me is the visionary realizations that are typical of Mercury Neptune contacts. So a visionary realization might be the kind of realization or epiphany or sudden understanding of something that you couldn't previously understand that also imparts a sense of inspired action. I understand something, I see something, and I receive an inspiration because of it. I will say, as an astrologer, some of my most my favorite periods of learning were some of the periods in which I was first studying Hellenistic astrology and starting to understand a lot of things that previously had felt really obscure and without grounding. Like, well, why do we do this the way that we do this? Hellenistic astrology is very good at explaining the underlying why behind everything. In astrology, in the language of astrology and its philosophy. When those realizations happened, they were accompanied, not surprisingly, this was while Uranus was in Aries, by the way. When those realizations happened, there was an immediate imparting of changes that I was excited to make in my practice with clients, in the way that I taught. I was teaching programs and I started revamping the curriculum over a period of a year and a half. So when you start understanding something, you start seeing something becomes more comprehensible, then there is a simultaneous way in which you may feel excited into action. I'm going to do something with this new understanding, this new clarity, this new epiphany, this new realization. So the visionary realization can be a moment of learning. It can also be just, sometimes we just wake up in the morning with a new dream and a new idea and a new wish and a new desire or intention that we want to put into action as quickly as possible. I love those times. I remember when that moment happened for my wife and I when we were ready to start having kids. It was like, all of a sudden, I was very excited. It was like, wasn't planned. It was just like one day I was like, I think we're ready to have kids. It's funny how sometimes we think we're driving the ship in moments like that, and it's actually destiny playing out. But there's an excitement, isn't there? When something destined becomes clear, there's a feeling that I am choosing this new path. I am following this new intention. But there's also, if we're honest, a way in which, you're suddenly aware of the fact that destiny is pushing you in a new direction. It's a different way of looking at it. I like to think that it's participatory and it goes both ways. We are in receipt of some vision, some clarity, some understanding, but on the level, it's always important to keep our humility intact. On that level, we say, I'm feeling guidance. I'm feeling direction coming in and shifting the course of my life. So these visionary realizations at 0 Aries in a fire sign can be very inspirational, very charismatic, very healing, very opening. And again, the reason that I would think of this as having a little extra something, is because of the fact that Mars, the god of action, after a long retrograde in which it is now the planet Mars, now ready to carry forth new intentions, new actions. Mars is the god of action, is also hitting the trine to Neptune this weekend, and then going into the opposition with Pluto, where the immediate force of direction, change, action is met with that empowering energy of Pluto, or perhaps some kind of oppositional tension out the gate. And that's often what happens when you get ready to start something new. You're met with a kind of creative resistance. a meaningful obstacle that has to be heroically faced or overcome internally or externally as you receive a new vision and try to, in somewhat immediate way, implement it. Number 2 would be ungrounded, impulsive thoughts and communication. Look, Mercury in a fire sign, maybe a little impatient, maybe a little aggro, maybe easily irritated, easily will put things into motion that haven't been carefully thought through. The ignition switch of 0 Aries combined with Neptune may lead us to some ungrounded, impulsive forms of thought, actions rooted in those thoughts or ideas or epiphanies, as well as inflammatory forms of communication or speech that maybe are the result of not being careful and thinking through something entirely. So watch for those energies as well, because that really is a shadow side of this transit, followed by Mars hitting Neptune and going into Pluto. The real beware of this little window of time is starting to enact something quickly, rapidly, in a fierce, determined way that is lacking substance or grounding, or is the result of us being captured by some kind of illusion, or we don't have all of the facts, so it's a little, the fierceness, the fieriness, the Mars Pluto, the Neptune, just be a little careful of becoming fanatical in our thinking, ungrounded, and too quick to act on, an idea that's only half baked or doesn't have all of the correct information at hand. Number 3 would be the incentive to act or initiate. Now, I've already mentioned this a little bit, but I think 0 Aries is such an initiating degree. It really is a degree of birth. And so Mercury coming into contact with Neptune can be about forms of communicate, like getting an email or a letter in the mail, or having a communication with someone, or something that the messenger, we think of Hermes as the messenger, comes into our life and just delivers this, it's like a burning bush. It's like this sacred encounter with something that says, now is the time to initiate, now is the time to act. Number 4 would be the encounters that we have with that burning bush, but let's say the burning bush is an allergy. Maybe it's a psycho-spiritual allergy. It's a person, or it's a situation, or it's an environment that is acting as a psychic or spiritual or moral or ideological irritant. Facing that, dealing with it, working through it, recognizing the subtle things that are inflammatory or harmful or violent or aggressive or disturbing could be a real gift of this transit. Mercury conjoins Neptune, and in a sense, we have an opportunity to recognize things that are subtle or elusive or quieter or beneath the surface, or and having an impact on us and having some kind of influence on us. So recognizing things that are subtle on the level of the mind, starting to comprehend things that are unconscious or very kind of mystical. I like to think about this in terms of, people who have Neptune Mercury contacts will often show up with some nagging chronic symptom. And oftentimes we go looking for the cure in terms of, like, well, what's wrong with my body? But we will find that the irritant physically goes away when we address something psychologically. We address a relationship or a job or an environment or something about the way our house is set up, and it's amazing how subtle things can actually manifest on the level of physical irritations when Neptune is involved. So I would say this is also a good transit, especially with, again, Mars hitting Neptune and then Mars hitting Pluto subsequently, to look at themes of anger, dominance, pride, ego, power, all of those subtle levels at which the mind and or will are problematic for us. I mean, who doesn't have at sometimes a problematic relationship with the mind or anger or will, So it's like they're like instruments of life that have constructive value, but they are also at times very destructive, and learning to walk a middle path in relation to those energies or qualities it's not easy. So, and I watch my kids trying to figure it out, my daughter, this is very Mercury hitting Saturn in Pisces recently. She got really mad at my other daughter, because she wouldn't do something immediately right when she wanted to. She got on her scooter and she was like angrily scooting off. And in her anger and like swerving off angrily like Cruella de Vil, she just face planted. You know, my wife and I were like instant karma. Uh, these cruel parents. Anyway, so it was we took care of her and she was okay and everything like that. But we were like, later on, we were helping her reflect on how one thing leads to another. An angry reaction and the inability to work with that super inflammatory, combustible energy can lead to, hurting ourselves or maybe hurting someone else. Because, she also almost ran into her sister on the scooter. Anyway, I thought it was interesting that Mercury was stationing in a sensitive point in her chart, and so that there was a connection there that I thought was interesting. But the point is that with Mercury Neptune at 0 Aries, we have to watch for these things. There might be a little evolutionary class in anger management and in irritating forces mentally and emotionally and how we deal with them. Number 5 would be otherworldly encounters. Look, precognition, lucid dreaming, synchronicities, psychic downloads, comprehension of subtle or mystical truths, experiences in meditation that are otherworldly, anything that the messenger conveys to us about that numinous, imaginal, romantic, otherworldly, mystical side of Neptune is a beautiful, promising part of this transit. You can, for some people, none of these things will be a big part of your experience as much as this will be. You're just going to have, the veil is thinner somehow. That tends to happen with Neptune contacts. So we will watch for these things, and we will continue to tie this transit together with Mars's entrance into Leo, where it will trine Neptune, and then its subsequent opposition to Pluto. When the messenger goes out ahead of Mars and Pluto like this, we're also, in a sense, watching as the stage is set for this final Mars-Pluto opposition, which again is one of the biggest transits of the year. So we'll leave it there. Stick around after I sign off. There is an informational video about the Year 1 program. Come study with us at the end of June. I think it's June 22nd. We start our next first-year program. If you, like me, absolutely love this language, then there is really nothing, no gift that you can give yourself better than an immersive deep dive into the language, into its roots, into the underlying philosophical explanations. With that in hand, you learn so much more than just memorizing lists of topics and houses or topics and adjectives and signs and so forth. This course is meant to give you the why behind everything, and with that, make you a more intuitive, artful, creative astrologer and someone who could work with other people if you want to, or if not, then you're really becoming more of the astrologer for your own life. That is a skill that if you take in astrology content, I think everyone should develop at some point, because it's what allows you to you can always take in content from astrologers you appreciate, but you can also pair that with your own growing abilities as a reader. And I think that's when things become really, really special, when we take on that task of like, okay, I'm really going to take some time to learn the language. And this program's great because you can kind of do it on your own time if you don't have a lot of it. Or if you really feel like immersing yourself, you can show up at every single live event that we do over the course of a year. All right. Well, more on the course next. Thank you, guys. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around. I'm excited to tell you about our upcoming program, Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic. It is our first-year course in Hellenistic astrology that begins at the end of June. June 22nd is our starting date. I'm going to take you over to the course page to tell you more about the program and what you will learn while you are in it. So here we go over to the Nightlight Astrology website. You can find this at nightlightastrology.com. Click on the courses tab, go to the first year course. Now this program is ideal for people who maybe have a little bit of background already in astrology. Maybe you've done some studying on your own independently, taken some courses or webinars and workshops, but you're looking to deepen your understanding of astrology. And maybe Hellenistic astrology in particular has been calling to you. I'll tell you more about what Hellenistic astrology is in a minute, but on the first year course page, you're going to find everything that the course includes. I want to make the structure of the course clear first. And then at the end, I'm going to tell you 5 reasons that I think anyone might have for studying astrology. And you can see if you check any of those boxes. First of all, there are 30 classes on the year. It's just a little under a year-long program with 30 webinars. Every webinar is 2 to 3 hours long, including a lively Q&A and conversational section after we finished our lesson for the day. Each of those lessons I lead personally through live webinars, so you can attend those live. If you want to follow along at your own pace in your own time on your own schedule, you can always look at the recordings and take those in. And I'm going to show you what the class page looks like so you can see how you can interact with the course as uniquely and creatively as you want to. But you can either attend the live webinars or listen to the recordings or audio or video. In between major units of study within those 30 classes, we have separate classes outside of the 30 classes that are essentially tutoring sessions led by our staff, our course directors. We have 3 of them for our first year program, 3 tutors that help me guide every single class you're in and lead study sessions, and are also staffing an interactive group forum discussion where you can ask questions, look at charts, practice what you're learning with all of your classmates and with tutors there to help you. They'll always answer questions within a business day. So it's a really well-staffed, well-structured program. In between those major units of study and the breakout sessions, we also have guest speakers that come in throughout the year that you get free access to. The recordings are archived for you in your class folders. So you're getting people within our curriculum. And you're also getting to visit with some astrologers who are outside of the Nightlight School, but we really admire their work, and so we bring them in. You also have a ton of bonus material. With every lesson, we have recommended quizzes, study guides, optional reading. And that allows people who are really, really, intense, deep, like studious types to go as far as you want to with the material, while other people who are maybe, content to take things in at, just kind of taking in the classes, that's there for you too. So you can kind of go as deeply as you want to. The class, as the year goes on, goes through major units of study in ancient Hellenistic astrology. So if you're not familiar with ancient Hellenistic astrology, this is the earliest form of horoscopic astrology. This is where the astrology that you've probably learned today comes from originally. And that makes some of its features unique. Like, for example, ancient astrologers utilized whole sign houses. We study why they used whole sign houses, how they used them, and we study the why behind really everything: houses, signs, planets, aspects, dignities, essential and accidental dignities, delineation approaches. How do you read and predict within a natal chart? All of those theoretical areas of astrology we not only learn how to do, but we learn the why behind it. And this is what I think people find most empowering about the course, is that ancient astrology really helps to give you the rationale for everything so that you have the insight available to go off script. What I mean by that is, like, let's say you're learning about a sign, Aries or Taurus or a Gemini, something like that. Ancient astrology won't just give you a list of the adjectives or keywords or descriptions of, say, a sign or a planet. It will give you an underlying philosophical explanation that then allows you to extrapolate from it the kinds of lists that you read in textbooks, which means you'll have an understanding of why everything on a list in a textbook is there in the first place. And you'll also have the insight and creativity available to add things to the list that are a part of your own unique intuition and contribution to astrology. And this is what ancient astrologers wanted students of astrology to learn: the why behind everything. So this is a class where, even though you're seeing things like planet signs, houses, dignities, aspects, and you're like, oh, I've already learned about those things. Not if you haven't studied Hellenistic astrology. I don't mean to sound condescending, but like, truly, most people's experience coming through this program is, wow, I had no idea all that I didn't know about the roots of everything that I've understood thus far about astrology. So it really is about digging into the philosophical core of why we do everything. And then you have greater intuitive and creative capacity as an astrological craftsman or craftswoman. So anyway, that's a brief explanation of why I think Hellenistic astrology is important. Not to mention that ancient astrology was really focused on our ability to accurately describe and predict things in the realm of karma, fate, and destiny. Whereas modern astrology's hallmark and strength is psychological depth. And so when you put the two together in our program, which is why it's called Ancient Astrology for the Modern Mystic, I think you have something really special. So on that note, you can see everything that we cover here. So there's a video with some of our alumni you can watch. Everything is there on the page. Now, there are 5 reasons that I want to touch on briefly before I tell you about your payment options and need-based tuition. These are 5 reasons to study astrology that if you mark any of these boxes, especially if you mark several of them, then I think it's a good indication that you might be ideal for this program, might be an ideal fit. So the first one is if you find that astrology has become a part of your daily, weekly, monthly, yearly spiritual practice, it is a part of how you lead an inner life, then there is nothing more empowering than deepening your connection to that language, because that puts you more in the driver's seat. It's always good to have astrologers that you rely on, teachers that you listen to, get a little objective perspective, especially when you're looking at your own chart through a reading. But there's really nothing more empowering than learning to speak the language at a deeper level for yourself. And if that calls to you, if you want to understand things and be able to speak more confidently and clearly about this sacred language that you love, and this is a great reason to take a structured program. Number 2 is that you feel called to read charts for people. Look, not everyone who takes our programs is on a professional track, but we have 4 years worth of professional training programs at Nightlight that will prepare you to read professionally for others if that's the path that you're on. Maybe you don't even know if you're on that path. That's fine too. Many people take our programs just for the sake of their own personal enrichment, and again, to be kind of more in the driver's seat with respect to your astrological journey. You have more of an understanding. You can be more confident in reading symbols and experiencing transits with your own understanding that you've cultivated. But sometimes people want to read for other people. This will definitely set you up to do that. We have a certification track where you can take exams at the end of every year. They're optional. You don't have to if you're not on that level of interest. Number 3, you have done a lot of self-study. You've heard things from here and there, but you're looking to bring it all together. It is overwhelming to study astrology on your own. So if you want organization, structure, and coherence, what you're getting in this program is going on 15 years of training astrologers, 15 years of developing curriculum that has in mind the overwhelm that many people experience. And this program is structured year 1, year 2, year 3, however far you want to go with our curriculum, to give you an organized, structured, coherent way of understanding the history and language of astrology from both ancient times to modern times in all of the vastness that the field includes. And also, as we go, we want to give you the confidence that you are a part now of an astrological lineage. Astrology has always been practitioner-based. Coming through Nightlight, you are going to have the opportunity to feel aligned with a lineage. If you like my work, if you feel aligned with the way I speak the language, then this might be a good reason to come study with us. Now, if you're seeking the why behind things, if you're like, yeah, that's interesting, I get it, I understand, but why? Why signs? What's the difference between a sign and a house? Why did they ever come up with a sign and a house? What's the distinction philosophically? Why does Mars represent this? Why does Mars in this sign represent that? If you are someone who feels empowered by understanding the why behind things, you are going to love this program, because that's how I am as a teacher. That's how I am as a person. And that's what this program is really all about. Number 5, you are looking for astrological community. Look, I think Nightlight is unique in terms of the kind of warmth, acceptance, safety, and inclusiveness that our community includes intellectually, spiritually. We are really pride ourselves on being a peaceful kind of family. I'm a Cancer, right? So it's kind of a family-oriented environment. So anyway, I will end it there. If you check any of those boxes, you may want to consider studying with us. Now, I'm going to take you over to 2 things. I want to show you the dashboard. So here is the Thinkific page. You're going to join this, and on your dashboard, you're going to find any courses that you've enrolled in at Nightlight, and there are many, so you may end up in being involved in multiple courses, and you'll find that they're all there on your dashboard. Click on one of them, and it will take you in. You're going to find that on the left-hand side, there's orientation instructions, course information, class links, and calendar, all the technical stuff you need to know when you join the course. And then you're going to find that when you go through the lessons, that the lesson includes the video, the audio, the slides, the transcripts, the Q&A box text if you couldn't make it live and see what people were talking about, flashcards, homework, a bonus PDF with all sorts of additional recommended reading, bonus videos, additional video links for bonus material. So every single time that you want to visit something within the course, everything is nicely organized. So you can see here, I'm going to pause this before it starts going, but you can embed the video right there. It's embedded and you can watch it. And then if you wanted to, you could also, right here, you could also download the video and watch it on your own device. And that's same for the audio as well. And then as you go, you'll see all of the lessons are laid out. The study sessions are also recorded if you can't make those live. So everything is nicely arranged on the website for you. And that makes it a course that if you wanted to take 3 years to accomplish, you could take 3 years to accomplish. If you want to take it for the sake of getting certified, you have the full year plus an additional year to take the exam. So 2 years total that we give people if you're on a professional track. But most people complete the program in a year. And a lot of people, over 50% of our students go on to our year 2 and then our year 3 and horary programs as well. Now, final thing I'm going to show you is right here. You're going to find here is the enrollment options at the bottom of the first year course page. Again, this is at nightlightastrology.com, and you're going to click on the first year course, go to the bottom. The early bird payment saves you several $100s off the cost of the course. That's available till May 15th. Early bird installment plan saves you on the installment plan, regular cost of the course. That's also only available until May 15th. And then need-based tuition. All of our programs include a need-based option where we give you a sliding scale and we say, you pick your monthly tuition number within this sliding scale, which is greatly reduced off the normal tuition price. That is for people who are on a fixed or limited income, receiving disabilities, single mom, whatever the case might be. We want to make sure that nobody's priced out of studying astrology. So you don't have to feel any shame. If that is you, if you need help, if you want to take this, but you need to make it work within a tight budget, we get it. Times are tough right now. We don't think people should be priced out of studying a sacred subject like astrology. So we've been offering need-based pricing for 15 years. Nightlight is a donation-based school. It started that way. We have a sliding scale, so it's kind of like donation. You get to choose your rate anyhow. So if that's something that will help you, please use it. Thank you for listening to this. I hope it gave you a really deep and comprehensive introduction to what the course is all about and why you might find it exciting to come study with us starting at the end of June. So any questions you have about the program as you're visiting the course, email us info@nightlightastrology.com. We'll be glad to talk about anything that you have questions about. We are here and we have a wonderful staff of people at Nightlight who will be a part of your learning experience and are all glad to help you. All right, that's it. We'll see you again later. Bye.